Hi gang, movie man Eric Houston here with another look at the educational and industrial films of yesteryear. If you're like me, and I know I am, you probably thought a battleship was the most dangerous place to be in the Navy. Well, you couldn't be more wrong. Or at least that's the suggestion of our first picture tonight. A World War II safety film produced by the Navy. This is Safety in Offices.
This familiar scene is any weekday morning. The place, well, any of the Navy's many office buildings. And what a sight it is. Bright, cheerful, well-rested office personnel arriving at work to pit their wits against the workaday world. These people are plenty smart, too. Yes, sir, a lot of them actually went to college. Got degrees for being smart, for using their heads, for being on their toes. People like Miss Diffle here. Plenty of old gray matter under this kid's peroxide. Always just about on time, goes along strictly by instinct. Nothing's ever going to happen to her. But pity the plight of the poor unfortunate who happens to cross her path. He's taking his life in her hands. Better take a good look at her, my boy. You're apt to meet her again. Oh, be careful. Well, better safe than sorry. Uh-oh. Now what? Such personality. This is the way she starts her day. Such youth, pep, and vitality. Now, suppose we get down to business and talk about safety. You know, for some strange reason, people seem to consider office work as being free of any danger. What could happen to anyone working behind a nice, safe desk? What could happen? Typewriter bites girl. Here's an industrious-looking fellow with his mind on his work. Oh! Desk traps man. Now let's take filing cabinets. Harmless-looking things, aren't they? Yes, harmless-looking. But so is the rear end of a mule. Potentially, they are dangerous hazards. Kicking the drawer is the wrong method of closing it. May slide open again to trip some unsuspecting victim. See what I mean? This girl might have broken her leg. But this time she was lucky. Just a skinned shin. Of course, the real tragedy is that was her last pair of good stockings. Here are some suggestions about filing cabinets. Open only one drawer at a time. Unless you enjoy smashing your fingers, never grasp the file around the bottom, side, or top. See what I mean? Close it properly, then make sure it's locked. Now, you may be an architect, but don't build on top of a filing cabinet. Why? Oh, we'll show you why. You remember Miss Diffle. She's going to get that drawer open or else. Oh, now, just a minute, Miss Diffle. Why go through those unladylike gyrations? Here cometh young Lochinvar to solveth all your problems. Now, watch his technique. That's right. Brace the feet, address the handles, pull hard. Well, that's one way. You might also remember that if the heavily loaded drawers had been at the bottom of the file, this would not have happened. Now we come to office machines. There's a decided tendency on the part of office workers to overlook the fact that mechanical hazards do exist. For example, the purpose of the paper cutter is to cut paper, not your fingers. Oh, now, why cut off the end of that lovely digit? Especially the one you point with. Thank you, sir. And, Dora, when working the paper punch, remember it was invented for paper, not fingers. Machines in motion are always dangerous. Keep your fingers clear. You should have stopped the machine before making the adjustment. But now that you've injured yourself, don't be a victim of homemade first aid methods. Go to the dispensary immediately. It will save you from dangers of infection, not to mention the loss of time and money. And now we come to desks. You know, a desk can be the safest place in the world. Of course, one should be a good housekeeper like this fellow. Loose pins and thumbtacks can prick your fingers unless kept where they belong. There's a place for everything, and everything should be in its place. Whoops! Of course, his place is in his chair, not on the floor. Very undignified. Yes, we'd be embarrassed, too. These things could very easily be avoided. Get acquainted with your chair, know its limits, and observe them. Uh-oh, what's this? I hope he remembers that chair. He didn't. You'll find all along the line that accidents usually result from thoughtlessness. If you have to reach for high objects by standing on boxes or ladders, always brace yourself with your hands. Now, don't be indignant. What would have happened if he hadn't been there? Now, here's careless Cliffy. No. That's not the place for a burning cigarette on the edge of a desk. You see why? Should be getting warm about now. Hope you'll make it. What's this? Uh-oh. Don't go barging into dark closets. Your friends will never believe your story. Here's a little lady busy as a bee. What's wrong with this picture? Just wait and see. She left a book on the windowsill. Look out below. Don't put anything on windowsills. Ah, she missed this time. Thank heaven. Here we have Joe, the fix-all guy. Defective electric cords, plugs, or switches are shock hazards. Never attempt to repair them yourself. Always call a maintenance man. Now, this is asking for rupture or strain. There's a right and a wrong way to do everything. Learn to lift properly. Keep the back straight. Lift with the arm and leg muscles. Don't put the strain on your back. Well, here's Miss Diffle again, up to her usual tricks. Now, that's pretty. Someone's going to trip over that telephone cord and take a nasty fall. And here he comes, Lochinvar, our human guinea pig. Hey, you weren't supposed to see that. No, you don't, Lockie. You're supposed to trip over that wire.
Oh, gee whiz, I'm all black and blue already. Do I have to?
I'm afraid you're it, Lockie. Now be a good fellow and give us a nice fall.
Well, all right.
Sorry you have to take a beating like this, Lockie, but maybe we can save hundreds of others by observing the danger lurking in telephone cords. Gertie is all through for the day, but she's in much too big a hurry. Haste makes waste and injured fingers. Thousands of persons are killed or injured every year by falling on stairs. This is the heavy foot type, better known as lumbering Louis. Not very soft, are they? And here is Fire Drill Freddy, late for a date. Too bad, he'll never make it now. This is Hurrying Harry. He doesn't look where he's going. He knows the stairs are there without seeing them. Uh-oh, my mistake. Somebody must have moved one. And here comes Killer Diffle, her victim right in front of her. Poor Lockie. Looks like he's in for it again. Uh-oh, watch it. Lockie, that bike, it's going to clip you. Look out. He did. But she didn't. She finally became the victim of her own carelessness. Don't be a Diffle. Learn the rules of safe conduct and apply them. Yours is the safest job in the world. if you use your heads. It's up to you.
The MVP of safety in offices is Miss Dimples, or Miss Dipple, or I'm not really sure what they're saying. I have absolutely no idea who played her either, but she's pretty funny, with some serious Betty Hutton vibes. Actually, a lot of these actors are pretty fun. There are several solid pratfalls in a film that really seems less to be about actual safety than it is about avoiding comical accidents. I will say, I'm pretty glad we don't use file cabinets as much anymore. Those things seem like a real death trap, or scraped knee trap at least. Of course, the war wasn't fought only in the nation's office buildings. Millions of Americans worked farms and factories all over the home front to keep the country going and our troops supplied. Our next picture examines that world and the consequences of carelessness in probably the most stressful way possible. Up next from RKO in 1943, Conquer by the Clock.
The clock on the wall. On the 7th day of December 1941, it struck the 11th hour. Every hour after that has been, will be, 0 hour. 48 United States of a free and sovereign America are at war. Every American has his job to do, and the will to do it, and the tools to do it with. Pray God he also has the time. Time, the most vital natural resource of a country at war. Every tick of the clock is time won or lost. Every 60-minute sweep, every 12-hour tour of those relentless hands is turning out carload lots of time for us to use ourselves or to give away to the enemy. All the scientific devices of chronology are machines manufacturing time. The tool that in our hands means victory. And our hands must be as relentless as the hands of our clocks. They cannot afford to be less. Sunrise over Republic Steel. High noon at Willow Run. Sunfall on the Electric Boat Company. Midnight at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. Dawn to dusk and back to dawn again. 3 8-hour shifts, 1 day. So much can be done in a day if Americans will keep their sleeves rolled up. Inside of 24 hours, 1/20th of a freighter or a tanker can be built. Within those same 24 hours, a squadron of tanks can roll off the assembly line, and a flight of bombers can be made ready from radio to rudder boat. In 1 day, 1,000 acres of corn can become 30,000 bushels of food. In 1 day, 1 plant unit can turn out enough rifles to equip a battalion of infantry, the men who, in 1 day, might win a war or lose it. How? Well, let's visit upstate at a factory where they make 30 caliber rifle cartridges for the Army. Let's visit Jean, one of the girls who inspects these cartridges before they're shipped. She's a good kid, loves her country, and a guy named Joe. He gave her that pin she's wearing before he went to Australia. She's a good kid, honest, intelligent, but she gets tired in the afternoon sometimes, likes to take extra time off for a smoke. That's all, only a few minutes. A few minutes. It only takes a second to jar the primer out of a cartridge. And it only takes a second to put an OK ticket on a lot that should have been rejected. A cartridge without a primer is one that will never fire. It's about as useful in a rifle as a cigarette. or as the minutes that go up in its smoke. One bad cartridge, one chance in a million to get by undetected. 1 second in 60. One girl out of 100 who is an honest, patriotic, intelligent saboteur. Yes, Jean is intelligent. Intelligent enough to know that one of these bullets in good condition can travel 3 miles. But she doesn't know that a defective one can go halfway around the world. Somewhere in the Pacific, somewhere between the Devil and the Dutch East Indies, is an American scouting patrol. Too bad about that cartridge missing fire. It should have been rejected. It would have been, too, if a girl named Jean hadn't taken time out to smoke. Now meet J.G., general manager of a large wholesale food house. Makes $12,000 a year. Worn a white collar all his life. That is, except for the cocky one he wore in 1918. Tried to get in this scrap after Pearl Harbor, but they said his son could handle the fighting orders, and he could go on taking food orders, like this. 50 cases of 14A1. That's code for lifeboat provisions. Notify Martin. That means ship on Monday. Too old to fight, but not too old to work yourself silly trying to get out orders and priorities on time. Time? Holy mackerel, it's 2:30. I'll have to rush like old Harry to make it. Better tell Mabel where I'll be. Oh, no. Why bother? It's Saturday. That lifeboat stuff doesn't go out till Monday. Nothing can come up over the weekend. Besides, I've got an important engagement with a couple of guys. Important engagement with a couple of guys. A couple of guys on the home team. Well, they are leading the league, and it's his first Saturday off in 4 months. And there's nothing that can't wait 9 innings. Nothing, that is, except time and tide and convoys. A change in sailing orders and an urgent wire in code. Lifeboat supplies to be shipped at once. Shipped by a man who is busy coaching at first base. Unfortunately, a convoy can't wait for the last inning. A convoy waits for the tide, and the tide waits for no man. Standing beside a lifeboat only partly provisioned, 6 American flyers sail for Ireland in convoy on a freighter that falls behind its escort. It's an old story. Six men sailed for Ireland. 2 of them got there. 1 of them out of his mind. The other one dead. 25 days in a boat provisioned for 10 days. The tide rolls in, J.G., and the clock ticks on. And neither one, in peace or war, will wait for 9 innings. The state of North Australia is 23 time zones away from the state of Michigan. But the clock on the cockpit of the plane over Darwin and the watch on the wrist of the officer in New Guinea are synchronized with the clock at the door of the factory in Detroit and geared to the clock over the water cooler in Kalamazoo. The production rate of our factories and the firing rate of our guns is synchronized by one machine, the clock. This is the machine that manufactures victory, turning out 32.5 million seconds each year. Each separate tick, a precious tool to use in building our future. And you, these are your tools, your hands, and they must be as relentless as the hands of your clocks. If we are to conquer, they cannot afford to be less.
Still might and still our world, and to win liberty for all. Let's keep the flame of freedom blazing whatever may befall. Fill every burning moment until conquered is the foe. In every time we fight for time, so we must ever onward go. You in the field and farmland, and you in the factory, will hurt us to make men free. Bring the peace of victory.
Gosh, if a baseball game could have such dire consequences, just imagine how many guys Miss Dimple's clumsiness killed. Oof. Well, that's all we have time for today. But we'll be back with more vintage industrial and educational films. Until then, stay safe, watch movies.